I learned that in group that I had to open up my eyes and realize that those people are not the cause of the problem, that I'm the cause of the problem. I'm the one that accidentally caused the life of my daughter. And then I came home and I still was doing the same actions that I did before that case happened when I came home, because I wasn't ready to open up and take blame for all my actions. I was blaming everybody else. And then in these different programs that I learned through this incarceration, I finally come to realize I need to look in the mirror and I need a reality check.
Now, you heard correctly. This man baby, this monster, his 3-month-old daughter, and the agenda driven judge and DA gave him a plea deal of just 7 years. Now, that's not why we are here today, because of course he got out on parole after serving half of that 7-year sentence and then violated a protection order, got probation, violated a protection order again. And then here we are today. Now, he was allowed to plead and guilty via the Alford doctrine to the killing of his 3-month-old daughter. He was allowed to plead to the lesser charge of manslaughter, but it's my opinion, and certainly it was the opinion of the coroner, that it was homicide. As a matter of fact, his 3-month-old daughter was taken to the hospital July 2nd, 3 weeks before taken to the hospital again for a fracture in her skull. Now, after he fractured her skull again, where he claims he dropped her and didn't take her to the hospital, but as a matter of fact, the babysitter said she needs to be taken to the hospital right away. She's the one that testified against him. Even with all of that evidence, they still allowed him to plead not guilty via the Alford doctrine. And he will sit here today and he will say, the loss of my daughter set me off when I lost my daughter instead of when I killed her. It is these pathetic, weak judges and DAs that allow these monsters to walk amongst us, to commit violence amongst us, to commit more harm to the community. And yet, here they are. Here he is again with another chance at parole. You can't make it make sense. It will never make sense. Now, let's jump in to this insane parole.
Justin Smith, 280503.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Justin Smith, number 280503. He is serving a sentence of 8 years flat for a violation of probation with an underlying manslaughter and risk of injury, and 2 counts of a violation of a protective order. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of April 4th of 2026. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has completed New Thoughts, domestic violence, tier 2, anger management, creative writing, vocational education for carpentry and cosmetology, attends AA, and participates in a college program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range risk for recidivism. Mr. Smith, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, sir.
Good morning. Before we get started, I would like to start out by thanking the Board of Pardons and Parolees for allowing me the opportunity to speak here in front of you. So this all began back in 2011 when I made the worst decision of my life, where I thought it would be a good idea to be on drugs and alcohol around my daughter. Later that evening, while I was feeding her, she started throwing up and she slipped out of my hands and fell and hit her head, which ended up to her passing away. Did I make a poor choice? Yes. Did I make a mistake as first-time father? Yes. Did I ever do what the police said? No. There never, ever was a day where I put my hands on my daughter, ever. The second thing I would like to touch on is the case I am in here for now, where I violated several protection orders given to me by the Stanford court, in which I disregarded and didn't follow. While these protectors were in place, I continued to be around my victim where I verbally and mentally abused her. During arguments, I broke some of her personal property and said horrible things to her. I feel terrible, remorseful, and very sympathetic in both these cases. I take full responsibility, and my words are filled with nothing but sincerity. The only person to blame is myself. The truth of the matter is, I have a serious substance abuse problem where I am under the influence and I tend to make bad decisions. Again, I'm not making excuses for my actions. I'm simply giving context to my story and struggles. Since being incarcerated, I've been making strides to address my issues. I do fully recognize in prison I had 5 incidents with 7 tickets, which I am guilty of all my tickets except one, the last one in May, refusing to give a specimen. I honestly couldn't use the bathroom. During the beginning, I'm having a difficult time dealing with being back in prison, being away from my wife, my mother having a massive heart attack, which almost cost her life, and which led to her having triple bypass surgery. I wish I would have dealt with these situations in a different manner and not use marijuana, my addiction, to cope with my problems my whole life. Now, after several groups I did on my own and hard work, I now have changed my thought process. I lack the willpower and self-control to face my flaws, failures, and shortcomings. Since in prison, I took the time to utilize several programs the facility offered in which I desperately needed these programs. And they are Tier 2, Domestic Violence, New Thoughts, Anger Management, 2 college courses for creative writing. I graduated voc ed for carpentry, and I also graduated for cosmetology. I attend AA every week. Now, I will not attempt to convince you all my changes complete, because that wouldn't be honest. But I will tell you that I have and will continue to do the necessary work to become a better version of myself, which I haven't in a very long time, 30 plus years. When I came into prison, I was still looking for an outside solution for an interior problem. I had to dig down deep to realize I needed change, and I hit rock bottom and just couldn't continue to make poor choices. Upon my release, I will continue on my journey seeking treatment for my mental health and to maintain my sobriety, where I've now been sober for 1 year. In addition, my plan going forward is to work a full-time job, in which is waiting for me upon my release as a chef, doing construction and landscaping on the side. I will be a productive member of society, volunteer my time in the community. After work, I will attend NETS to obtain my CDL. I also have a sponsor on the outside already. I have classes lined up to attend NA to maintain my sobriety. I also have a psychologist lined up to help me maintain my mental health. I will strive to be the best husband to my wife and to be a responsible son to my parents. Also on my journey, I will tell my story to the youth on what I have been through, and the path and lifestyle I lived and went down is not at all worth it, and all the consequences that come with it, and turn my mess into a message. The last thing I would like to say is how terribly sorry I am for all my actions in life. Last, I would like to apologize to all my victims, starting with my daughter's mother and her parents for all the damage and pain I caused them. Next, I would like to apologize to the victim for the case I am currently in prison for, and all the victim damage I caused her for my verbal and mental abuse is a lifetime of scars due to my terrible decision making. Next, I would like to apologize to my wife for all the pain and stress and heartache she's going through due to my mistakes, and for her suffering to me being in prison, and also her mother. Last, I would like to apologize to my parents and my whole family for all the years of heartache I caused them for my whole life due to poor choices and years of coming to prison and all the years we missed out on. I'm asking the board to please, please give me one more chance. I promise you, I won't let you down, my family down, and most importantly, myself ever again. I am totally rehabilitated and will always continue to strive to make me better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith, for that statement and for preparing for today's hearing. We appreciate your thoughts, and we heard your relief plan and your remorse for your actions. So we appreciate all those things. So we reviewed your file, and we do have some additional questions for you. And you know how this works because you were seen before a panel before, although you were denied. But
yes.
You know how this process works. Is what I'm trying to say. So when we're done speaking with you, we'll make our decision, and then we'll give you the formal decision today. Okay?
Okay.
Ms. Cantz, we'll start with questions. Yeah.
So, Mr. Smith, I certainly appreciate the time that you took to write that opening statement. I want to ask you, so your serious offense of the manslaughter first,
Yes.
why didn't you take that serious after you served your time and went back in the community?
Well, what was happening was I still wasn't mentally ready to be in society, and I still had a lot of interior problems that I needed to get fixed. And I was looking for an outside solution and continuing on getting high and making poor choices that I was doing in my whole life. And I was still looking at everybody else and blaming everybody else for everything that I've been through, instead of looking in the mirror and realizing that I'm actually the person that needs change. So when I came into prison, I finally was able to get the time and put in the hard work in all of these programs to realize what I needed and what I wanted in life.
So I keep hearing the phrase, you learn that you stop looking for outside solutions for inside problems. So can you give me an example of that?
Okay, so some of the interior problems I had were, past traumas that I've had in my life. Losing my daughter was the hardest thing in my life that I've ever been through. And I was looking for coping mechanisms and stuff to try to make that go away. And it never would go away because I had to address what was on the inside.
What were those coping methods that you were looking for?
What I was looking for is healthy coping mechanisms and treatment to deal with the issues that I had in the inside that I was holding in, that I never expressed to anybody. And I was keeping it inside of me, built up, and using stuff as drugs and alcohol and cocaine to deal with these problems. And all it did was make the situation worse.
So you said that you were looking for healthy coping methods, but yet still you use drugs. How could drugs be a healthy coping method?
No, that was not a healthy coping mechanism. I was looking for healthy coping mechanisms like exercising, treatment, working out, reading books.
Why didn't you do those things?
Because I was still not ready for a change, and I didn't have the proper treatment, and I didn't reach out and put my hand out and say I needed help.
So reading through your files, I understand that you had attended substance abuse treatment at Silver Hills, AIC, and Connecticut Renaissance.
Yes.
What period was it, before or after your child died?
That was before.
All of them?
Yes.
So What is it that you think that you didn't get out of those 3 treatment programs?
I believe it was me, and I was the problem, and I wasn't willing to open up and get the treatment I needed. I was still using everything else as an excuse so I could continue using drugs and alcohol, which was a poor choice. And now I finally opened up my heart, and I realized the pain that I saw my family going through and my wife, of me still continuing to make the same poor choices. And then I finally realized one day when I was sitting and saying, what am I doing? I'm still making all the same poor choices that I made, and I don't want to live down this life anymore. And I want to be a changed person and live a normal, productive life.
I want to ask you, as part of those charges, you were required to do 500 hours of community service. Did you do those hours?
No, I did not, because I was only on probation for 3 months before I acted in a reckless manner and violated probation. And then they took me off of probation, and I didn't have time. I didn't do the 500 hours. But I'm willing to do any community service when I am released.
So you see, Mr. Smith, it's concerning for me because you've had so many opportunities to work on your substance abuse and address your mental health. And I know you're only 42 years old, but I'm sure you became an adult after age 25. I am just wondering, whatever trauma that you've had, what made you decide that you needed to address it now?
Because I learned in each different program that I had, I learned different tools, like in new thoughts. I learned thinking about my actions before they happen, recognizing thinking patterns. I also pay attention to thoughts and feelings that led me into trouble, and now I how to use new thinking to avoid trouble. And then in anger management, I learned if I start feeling angry, to take deep breaths or walk away and calm down, and not to hold stuff in until it boils over. And I learned cognitive thinking skills, where I picture in my head a situation and try to picture what could happen if I continue down and make a poor choice. I learned how to identify triggers. I pause before reacting. And
What are your
also
triggers?
Huh?
What
What's
are
that?
the triggers? What are the triggers?
Triggers to me that get me angry are if someone is yelling at me, if things don't go my way, if certain, we're going to have family functions around the holidays and I don't get to go hang out with my family. That makes me upset. If there's people driving around with road rage, I get angry that they're not following the laws. And now I try to identify healthy coping skills now, which is working out. I figured helps me out. I read books. I go for walks. I talk about stuff if something, to not hold it in. And I recognize that if I let it out of my body, that helps me not be stressed. And it's okay to talk about situations.
Okay, so one of the things that you said is that you get upset when it's a holiday and you don't get to hang out with your family. How would you cope with that today?
Well, I actually have a family that now we've changed around, and we actually do hang out as family gatherings, and we all get together around the holidays. And growing up, I didn't have that, and I was very angry that we didn't get to spend time, and we lost quality time in our family, because to me, family value is very important.
Who are the people that you said that you're blaming?
I was blaming everybody around me besides myself. Yeah, friends, family members. I was blaming everybody, that it's it's your fault. The way I was living my life, instead of blaming myself.
And what was the catalyst that caused you to realize that the responsibility lies with you and not with your family and friends?
I learned that in group that I had to open up my eyes and realize that those people are not the cause of the problem, that I'm the cause of the problem. I'm the one that accidentally caused the life of my daughter. And then I came home and I still was doing the same actions that I did before that case happened when I came home, because I wasn't ready to open up and take blame for all my actions. I was blaming everybody else. And then in these different programs that I learned through this incarceration, I finally come to realize I need to look in the mirror and I need a reality check. In which I did, and I was still continuing to get in trouble and make poor choices in prison until I finally recognized that this is not the life that I want to live anymore. And I want to be a productive member of society, and I am going to be a productive member of society. I'm going to have a full-time job, and I'm going to continue go to my AA meetings, which I found a fellowship where actually people are like me, and I'm not a single person going through this, that there's actually other people that are like me that have these similar problems. And by me going there and working the steps, and I had to come to realize that I was powerless over my addiction. And once I realized that, everything started to click.
So you were powerless because you were not ready to surrender.
Correct.
So let's talk about these DRs. Your most recent one was May of this year, where it said you refused to give a specimen. Now, you know what the rules are, whether you're in prison, whether you're in a halfway house, or whether you're in the community. It's the same method that applied. You have to provide it in a specific time. So tell me what was going on.
Okay, so what happened that day is I was getting ready to go to the gym that day to exercise, and before I went on the way to the gym, I used the bathroom in my cell. On the way out of the cell, the CO stopped me and asked me if me and my cellie could come down for a urine. And I went down there and I couldn't use the bathroom in that 3-hour window to give a specimen where I actually was clean. I've been sober now for 1 year. And I just couldn't use the bathroom because they give you only a 3-hour window to use the bathroom in. And if you don't use the bathroom in those 3 hours, you go to SEG. So I had no choice but to go to SEG and to sign the ticket because I didn't give him the urine within the elapsed time frame.
Okay. So you said this is the second time you said you've been sober for 1 year. So
Yes.
When I look at your DR December 2024, where it said you put water in your urine.
Yes, I did do that because I was dirty. That was the last time when I went into SEG and I realized, wow, look at what I'm doing, still in prison, trying to beat the system. And I just no longer wanted to live this way. And then after I got out of SEG for that ticket, where I did try to alter my urine to try to get away with it, that's when I found the fellowship of AA and NA.
When did you complete tier 2?
I believe it was in 2023.
October 2020.
So you did that, you completed that in 2022, right?
Yes.
You never wanted to participate in NA and A meetings before?
Well, no, I didn't, because I was still making poor choices and I still was letting my addiction get the best of me. And I was not utilizing all of the proper tools that the program taught me, such as hanging around with certain people, being in the wrong place in the wrong time when people are doing stuff in here. And I'm around that. Now it makes me want to do stuff. And now I'm continuing on getting high and smoking marijuana. And I'm not utilizing all of the stuff that they taught me of healthy coping mechanisms. I was still using.
When did you start attending AA meetings?
After the ticket that I got in December, that January, I wrote and told them and reached out and said, I got to surrender and I need help from my problem. And I was willing to do whatever it took to fix this issue with my addiction that I've been going through for 30 plus years. I just was tired. I hit rock bottom. I just didn't want to live that type of lifestyle anymore. And I wanted to make my family and my wife proud of me and not always be disappointed in me because I'm making poor choices on the outside and continuing to make the poor choices on the inside.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Smith, you keep talking about your serious substance abuse problem that you have. Your DOC drug score is only 3. So I had a little question mark for myself because throughout your opening statement and answering my questions, you used, serious substance abuse addiction over several years. And I'm wondering why your drug score is only a 3.
I'm not sure why they marked it at a level 3. Maybe it was a 4. Then after I completed the program, they knocked it down to a level 3. But 4 is the highest and 1 is the
5
lowest.
is the highest.
Okay, 5 is the highest. Well, I've told them about my substance abuse, using marijuana every day, frequently using cocaine. After I lost my daughter, I started smoking crack. I was drinking alcohol every day, constantly, all day long, all night. So I'm not sure how you guys register with the scores or not, but I know that I've been doing this since I was 11 years old, and maybe not on paper, it doesn't look serious, but to me, it's serious because it's ruined my life and my body for long enough, and I cannot continue to make those choices at 42 years old as a grown adult.
Mr. Smith, it's just, very concerning to me that you had all these serious charges and you violated your probation, took the tier 2 program and still didn't figure out that you needed to turn your life around. You took several good programs, I have to say that. You did the carpentry, the vocational program, but I see you had mentioned in your release plan that you want to work as a chef at a restaurant and then get your CDL.
Correct.
I don't know how much thought you put in that, but I hope for your sake that it's the appropriate one. So thank you for answering my questions. I don't have any others, but I'm here, I'm all set.
Thank you, Ms. Chance.
Welcome.
So, Mr. Smith, what was your longest period of sobriety out in the community?
I believe it was about 9 months when I was a little bit younger and I was attending classes.
Okay. And tell me what caused your relapse?
Well, just the different things that happened to me in my life, and especially after I lost my daughter, that was the worst thing in my life. And I just had no care in changing and being a sober individual because of all the trauma that it caused to me. I was just continuing on going down that road, making poor choices that I thought would fix it, and it didn't.
Okay.
It just made it worse.
The 9 months that you actually were clean and sober in the community, what were you doing? What was working?
I was doing therapy with a therapist. Her name was Maggie. I also was working a full-time job, and I was going to classes. I don't remember if it was AIC or Connecticut Renaissance, and those were really helping me. And because I'm around people that are not like me, and I don't feel singled out for my addiction.
Okay. And tell me, what made you start using drugs?
Well, I started when I was 11 years old, and I was introduced to it, and I fell in love with it.
By who? I mean, at 11 years old, a
family-
peer was using?
A family
family.
member,
Okay.
yes.
Now let's move forward. You spoke with Ms. Chance about your treatment there in the facility, and I show that you were before you were released in 2020, it looks like. You
Yes.
took tier 2 and you completed it then. So you were out in the community from December 28th until February 12th, where you got your first, the police were involved with you and this lady.
Yes,
You came in and you took the program in from August to October 2022.
yes.
And then they also put you in for a treatment in May of this year.
Yes, yes.
What happened? You got a ticket for the
Yeah.
refusal.
And that was the last ticket that I spoke with that lady about, is when they
Miss
called me
Chance.
down, when they
Yes.
called me down to take a urine. I
Okay.
had used the bathroom before I went to the gym, and I just couldn't use the
Yes,
bathroom
I
again
heard
within those
that.
3
I heard
hours.
that. Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. But you can see things from our perspective in that every other time that you were required to give a specimen, you were actively using. And so,
Correct.
I mean, it's very difficult for us to believe that in this last case that you were not using. You can, I mean, just based on your history. Okay, that's the
I
first thing.
understand your concerns.
Thank you. And the second thing is, while I appreciate everything that you shared in terms of you're not being ready to accept the help that you were receiving. And now you're in a different headspace where you can you can take advantage of the tools that you've learned through various
Yes.
treatments to combat your addiction. I also understand that it's a lifetime, problem, because you're in a place where you have a controlled environment and life's in there, but life outside those prison walls are very different. And I'm curious to know how you met this lady. You said when you were interviewed by the officer, you met this lady and she was heavily into using drugs. Where'd you meet her?
Are you talking about the victim for the case?
Yes. Yes.
I met her at the bar.
Now, why would you go to a bar when you're already on probation and you're not even supposed to be using alcohol?
Because I made a poor decision and a poor choice, and when I was released, I was still not ready to surrender, and I was still making the same decisions that I was making.
But you were out in the community. Were you using drugs when you were on the community release with DOC?
I was using marijuana and alcohol and cocaine frequently, yes.
So the treatment, even the tier 4 that they tried to put you in, but you didn't complete that. You were voluntarily removed. I don't know why. That's probably what needed. The treatment, all the programs that you had taken before, you still go out and go to a bar? Did you do that
Yes.
because you were on probation and they didn't have the authority to bring you right back into prison?
No, because I just made a poor choice, and like I said, I wasn't ready to surrender, and I was still thinking that it was okay to do that stuff, and it wasn't. It was a poor decision that I made, and I should have never did that.
Right.
And I
Did
now
you ever
know.
tell your probation officer that you were struggling to stay clean?
I did, and then they put me into programs. I believe
what?
it was.
Go ahead.
I don't know what the name of the program was, but they put me into a program after I gave them a dirty urine, and I went and sought treatment for my
Right.
addiction.
But then you kept using.
Correct, because I just wasn't ready mentally to surrender.
So you met this lady in a bar and you bring her home with you?
I did.
And she lived with you?
No, she didn't live with me. She had her own apartment.
So when everything happened with the holes in the walls and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
she was just staying there. And where were you when your mother was recording everything that was going on between the two of you? And the victim was able to call the police.
My mother called the police.
Your mother.
My mother. My mother called the police. I was in the house with her. I brought her to my house when we were hanging out. And then she asked me to borrow some money. And I said, I'm not going to give it to her.
That's not
And
the story that we have. The story, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to skip over that part. I just really wanted to understand the dynamics. So you were, bad choice one, using drugs. You made a choice to bring home someone that you really didn't know. Neither one of you knew each other. So now I'm curious to know how you met your wife.
I met her after these incidents happened in March. I met my wife
Where?
at a restaurant.
A restaurant?
A
Were you
restaurant,
at the
yes.
bar again?
No. I was
To
at a restaurant.
McDonald's? Like when you say restaurant, I'm thinking a sit-down place.
Yes. It was an Italian place.
So what, you were coming in to get food and
She was coming in with her friend to get food. And when I was outside smoking a cigarette, I seen her and we started discussing, having conversation. And then, one thing led to another, and I asked her for her phone number. And then we continued to talk from there.
And does she have substance abuse problem,
She does not.
mental health issues? Because you said that your last victim
Yes.
had serious mental health issues, and that's what caused your problem.
Yes, she has some trauma in her lifetime.
I mean, I don't understand. It looks like this habit of meeting people and these fast relationships. I mean, it causes you problems when you don't really know people and you invite them into your personal space. So I'm happy that this lady that you're currently with seems to be a positive influence on your life. She seems to have you motivated to do better. I heard you speak about her positively and several times. So I'm glad that you have her. My question now is, with your mom, does this lady and your mother have any relationship?
My mother and my wife, or my mother and the victim?
Your mother and
my
your
mother.
wife.
Yes, and to be honest with you, you are 100% right. And my wife is the one that initiated these changes for me and put the time and effort in and showed me different things and proper ways to communicate. And she's lightened my eyes and made all of this change possible and made me realize that that's not a life that I want to live anymore. And if I'm going to continue in a marriage and a successful marriage with her, I have to sacrifice and make these changes in order to be a better person.
Okay.
And I didn't have anybody before.
So I understand that. The relationship between your mother and your wife, is that healthy?
Yes.
Do you think your mother enables you at all?
I do not.
Because I mean, the story that she was telling the police when these offenses happened, it really seemed to be like she was blaming the victim as well.
Not well. I don't know what she said in the police report, but I know what happened that night when she tried to take the jewelry from me, and I had to pry it from her hand, and then she started breaking everything in my room, and then she went into the bathroom and sliced her wrist, and then my mother called 911 and told the cops. Okay. I'm assuming that she broke the room and she had it on video.
So you told in your opening statement and in your discussion with my colleague, and this really isn't the last question, you said several times that you accepted responsibility, that you've learned to own up to everything that you've done, and that you were blaming everybody else for your actions. And I'm going along this line because in your interview with the parole officer, you blamed your victim for everything that you did. You said she was a drug addict, that she had substance abuse problems, and you were doing really good before you met this victim, and she was the cause of your demise, kind of thing. So I'm curious to know what it is that you do accept responsibility for. What is it that you did in all of this to make you wind up where you are without blaming your victim? We're talking about Justin Smith and what Justin Smith did that caused him to be where he is.
Okay, so the first thing, what I did was in 2011, when I made a poor choice and thought it was a good idea to get
No,
high.
Nope. I want you to start. I'm talking about you're in prison right now. I'm not talking about the manslaughter one. You're in prison now for a violation of a protective order. So tell me what role you played in your being in prison right now.
The role I played to be in prison was that I was verbally and mentally and emotionally abusing her and saying hurtful and horrible things to her on text messages. And then she went to the police station and showed them these text messages that I said to her. And I got arrested, violation of probation, violation of protective order. And that ended up me coming into prison.
Okay. And
There was never any physical abuse ever.
Thank you, Ms. Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions. You provided a lot of information. Your answers were very full and complete, which is good. It was very helpful for me. So I was going through my questions and they were really all answered. The only thing I was wondering with the DRs and urine screens, are they random or are they scheduled, or do you know that they're once a week or anything? How often?
They just do them random.
Okay. And then during the 3-hour window, are you able to drink water and
You are not.
What do you have to do? You just sit there
They
and be
put you in a
observed?
cage and then you say if you could go to the bathroom or not during that 3 hours time. You're not allowed to drink any water or leave that area. Only when you have to go to the bathroom, they stand behind you and watch you use the bathroom.
How in the December 2024 one were you able to put water in the specimen?
I tried to flush the toilet and scoop up a little thing of water into the cup to try to dilute the urine.
And they were watching you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So give us a few minutes, Mr. Smith. We'll give you our decision. Ms. Chance?
So, while I appreciate Mr. Smith today taking responsibility for the two violation of protective order and acknowledging that he was verbally, emotionally, and mentally abusive to the victim, I certainly appreciate that. But I'm concerned about using during incarceration. I'm concerned about how he goes out, to the community and meeting victim at a bar. He was on probation, drinking alcohol. His previous attempt for them to put him in tier 4, which he was not able to do that, which I think is what he really needed. When he notified probation that he had a problem, they placed him in treatment, but it's obvious that it did not work. I'm glad that his current wife, who he met at a restaurant, is the one that's helping him to turn his life around. But from what I know of people with substance abuse, the individual has to take responsibility and put time and effort into determining if I'm gonna be sober from drugs and alcohol. It's my responsibility to do the things that I need to do to stay clean and sober. And from what I'm hearing from Mr. Smith today, his wife is the one that's played a role in teaching him how to better communicate and go back to having a decent relationship with his mother. But for me, Mr. Smith needs to own that and accept responsibility for his addiction and the negative behavior that has developed as a result of that, and that he needs to own it and decide going forward how he's going to stay clean and sober. Madam Chair, today, I look at his release plan and, he's going to his wife, he has a job. He now says he's going to attend NANA and he has a sponsor. I don't have Mr. Smith going out. I haven't denied today. I'm here.
Thank you, Ms. Chance. I too have very similar concerns. While I appreciate all of Mr. Smith's efforts, it really does appear that he's motivated to make better decisions. I'm not sure that he's demonstrated that he's capable of staying clean and sober and on the positive path, a positive path. So while I know he is not done with us until 2029, and he is currently serving a flat sentence, I still believe that there's a lot more work to do. He did receive excellent evaluations for the treatment that he has received. I think that he probably needs to revisit some of those things and come up with a solid relapse prevention plan prior to my feeling possible. Returning him to the community. Well, I mean, I'm happy that he has his wife and his mom, and sounds like he has some things in place. I'm just hoping to see more of that before he gets released. In May, that last ticket really did throw a monkey wrench. So I need to see more evidence of sobriety. I need to see more evidence of change. Ms. Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think he presented very well. I was very impressed with the things he said. It was very specific with the things he had learned and the mechanisms and strategies he has learned and developed to handle different things, anger and addiction and everything. I would be a yes, except for the DRs. So that's really what I'm hung up on. I want there to be more time where we have evidence that he's not using, just to make sure before he is released and faces all of the challenges associated with release, that he really has been sober for a very long time and then is going out to the positive network and with the plan to engage with other sober people and groups. So I would be a no, but I'd be open. I would like a rehear, since he does have such a long sentence. He has so much time remaining and he doesn't have community supervision built into his sentence. He has done so well and has done well with the programs. I think if there was just more time for me between his last DR and when we consider him again, if he is DR free and his urines have all been negative, be in favor at that time. I can't speak for anything else, but I would feel much more comfortable at that time.
Okay, I would be willing to rehear Mr. Smith as well. So here's my thing. Mr. Smith says that his longest period of sobriety was 9 months when he was out in the community. He also admitted that he was using when he was out on community supervision through Department of Corrections. So he's using there, he's using under supervision. I do not have, the shortest period of time that I would be willing to rehear Mr. Smith is 18 months.
That's exactly what I have.
I will go along. I was thinking less, but I will go along. I will support my colleagues, my esteemed colleagues.
I say 18 months because he hasn't been able to demonstrate any lengthy period of sobriety for me to say, and I understand the trauma that he's experienced. I do. He needs to be addressing that while he is there in the facility. And I mean, they have a tablet. Do they still have the tablets?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what
I mean, he said he's been clean for a year, but it's not a year.
No, it's not.
And 9 months, he will still use it in the community.
So we're looking at a rehear of May of 27, is that correct?
That's what I'm looking at, May of 27. Thank you, Officer Lindsay. And my reasons for, he has 7 disciplinary infractions. His criminal history is not the best, and the nature and circumstance.
So I did poor institution, inadequate release plan, and inadequate evidence of offender change only because he took programs.
I would do
still.
Okay. So I would do poor institutional adjustment and inadequate evidence of offender change, and have him come back with an adequate release plan.
That's why I gave those 3 so that he could.
The plan that he gave us was pretty.
It's good.
It was pretty put together. So I wouldn't say inadequate.
Well, what he verbalized with the PO was very much. He was just talking today. I felt what he thought we needed to hear, but I needed to see a more robust release plan.
But I think he spelled it out to us. I wrote down, he's like, I'm gonna go to mental health, I'm gonna get a job as a chef. He wants to go get a CDL, he's gonna go to NA, he's gonna,
And the chef, I'm not sorry, it may be at a restaurant his family owns. That was one of my questions I did not ask, but I think a letter, if he comes back and that is it, if he has a restaurant that actually is going to hire him, providing a letter in advance, so we have confirmed employment offer, that'd be helpful, but sorry,
For me, I need him, when I say a robust release plan, he mentioned today that he had a sponsor, but I think he needs to connect with programs in the community that's going to help him.
Mhm.
Because just looking through his record, even with what he said today, I didn't think that was a good, I thought it needed more. He needed to maybe connect with CCAR, since in the past, he's been on probation, in treatment, continue to struggle. He's incarcerated, he continues to struggle. So he needs to get a hold of a sponsor, considering the 12-step. Where he is now, those are all issues that I feel he needs to get addressed. So
not so much of an inadequate release plan, but an inadequate relapse prevention plan is what it really sounds like, Ms. Chance.
right.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I keep saying release. It's relapse
Okay.
prevention.
All right.
I'm sorry. It doesn't look like C-Car is at Cheshire, but this is,
All right.
okay.
But there's so many
Yes.
other things right
There's,
here.
yeah.
All right, so Mr. Smith, we're ready with our official decision with regard to Justin Smith, 280503. I move to deny parole today based on your poor institutional adjustment, inadequate evidence of offender change, and inadequate relapse prevention plan. I further move to rehear you in May of 2027, at which time you are to participate in additional positive programs, come up with a viable release and relapse prevention plan, and no more disciplinary infractions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Mr. Smith, you've heard our discussion and you've heard our concerns. We really want you to have the best opportunity possible to return to the community and do well. You don't make good decisions when you're under the influence. So we really need you to focus on that part and show us that you're ready and come back before us, okay? We wish you the best. Thank you so much.
This concludes the hearing for Justin Smith, number 280503.
A denial. And they're going to rehear him. And as long as we still have access to these streams, I will play it for you in the return of playlist. But let me get a few things off my chest, and then I'll go through some of the many news articles. I'll go through like one of them just to give you additional context. This man, this monster, in my opinion, as Dr. Grandi says, I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm only speculating on a psychopath, on a sociopath like this. He didn't even break down in tears when he first talked about his daughter. No, he started to break down when it was like one of his, umpteenth wives. Why are they actually? It's like they're more shocked. The parole board is more shocked. Like, you went to a bar to pick up a girl? What do you think would happen? Oh, well, we see that your new wife, you have a new wife, though. You met her at a restaurant. She's great. She's a doll. Oh, we're so glad that you're working things out with her, that she's helping you. And it's like, are you guys dumb? Like, really, I need to look at the parole board and say, are you dumb? What is wrong with you? Do you have where is your common sense? What are you saying? He needed to be berated at so many levels. He needed to be he needed a Miss Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson moment to look at him and say, you are a monster. No, really, he needs to, you are a baby. You caused the death of your child, and that wasn't enough to take things seriously? You did no community service. You did no programs. You did no sobriety. You did nothing. Instead, you date all these women and get violation of protection orders. And that wasn't enough. They should have held him responsible. You know, you say, oh man, they're not there. This is the underlining case. This is from no. If you when you've seen enough parole hearings, like we have seen enough parole hearings, you know that parole board members have that right and they exercise it when they're competent to talk about the underlining case. How was it that you killed her? We've seen it 100 times in Louisiana, 1,000 times. It's these pathetic, agenda-driven, I say weak, but it's an agenda. They have agendas to keep these monsters in the streets amongst us. They were about to take this to trial. Every bit of evidence, in my opinion, that I will share with you, leads to him throwing his baby on the floor. It was her second skull fracture that month. She was brought in with a skull fracture July 2nd, and she was brought in with a skull fracture again 3 weeks later. The coroner said it was homicide. And they give him a plea deal of 7 years? Which he then catches more. He gets arrested. When I look in his record, he's sentenced to 5 years jail on 2/15/2021 for harassment second degree and violation of a protective order. A month later, 3/23/2021, he gets another violation of a protective order, sentenced to 5 years jail. He is 10 years jail just for those. 2 of them are Class D felonies. Plus the time he's backing for the 8 years, sorry, not 7 years, for the 8 years. Let's see, for the 8 or 7 years, who cares? And so if you count that up, he owes like 15 years, yet he doesn't even have that time that he has to serve. It's still maximum sentence of just 8 years. None of it ever makes sense because there's no truth in sentencing. It's all gimmick. It's all a gimmick. The gaslight. It doesn't benefit anybody. It only benefits the judges and DAs who want to appear as if they are being tougher on crime than in reality. There's no other explanation for it, in my opinion, because I haven't been able to make sense of it. If you're backing time, then how come you don't actually back the time? And the board's like, it's so clear that he's lying. I couldn't urinate for 3 hours. I just couldn't. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Were you allowed to drink water? No. Oh, okay. Okay. It's like, please, just that alone, you could have ripped into him. Just that alone, you would say, you are lying to us. You're lying to us. You need a Mr. Mirabella moment, sir. You are an addict. And the of your daughter wasn't enough to set you straight? And it's crazy. Let me I mean, the idea, no woman who would go into a relationship with this monster is going to help him because she needs help. She's a danger to herself. How do they not see the most basic common sense? It's just so insane. And these nut jobs who get in relationships with these monsters, you guys need serious help. You are not the victim. You're part of the problem. I'm sick and tired of seeing it. I really am. Oh, I'm gonna change what? There are better men out there. There is no reason. There is absolutely no reason to have a relationship with this monster, and we see it over and over and over again, and it's a disease. let me share with you. You know, he did not give a final statement in the sentencing. He never spoke when he was sentenced for this killing, by the way. Never spoke. And in his arraignment pictures, he gave the finger to the photographers. There was zero redeeming factors about this monster, and they still wanted to give him a deal, which they gave him. And it's only going to piss you off more. A city man formerly sentenced to 7 years. Oh no, it's 7 years in prison, not 8. 7 years in prison Friday at Stanford Superior Court was shaking for they call it shaking. It's not shaking. I don't know if they call it that. It's just bad. This is just bad writing. Justin Smith had accepted a plea deal May after nearly taking his case to trial. He pled guilty to first-degree manslaughter and risk of injury to minor in exchange for a sentence of 7 years in prison, 5 years probation. He also has to perform 100 hours of community service, which we know he didn't perform, to undergo mental health and substance abuse treatment and parenting classes should he choose to have another child. These weak, pathetic judges and DAs are actually saying, we realize that you can go out and have another child, but you need classes. How insane is that? A first-degree assault charge was dropped in exchange for the plea. Hugging and kissing family members before approaching the court, Smith did not exercise his right to speak at sentencing. His mother said her son is still mourning the loss. Yeah, he really was. He's mourning the loss, the terrible accident. Shut up. The death of an infant is immeasurable tragedy, he said. Who said this? The Smith's attorney. Okay. Detectives from the Bureau of Norwalk. Shall I zoom in more? Can I zoom in? Okay. Police Department began investigating the suspected child case after informed that Haley had been admitted to Stanford Hospital with serious injuries July 27, 2011. Police said investigators soon learned that Haley had also been admitted to the hospital on July 2nd, 2 times in 25 days. Smith told investigators, family members, and friends that the family dog, a boxer weighing estimated 80 to 100 pounds, had accidentally caused the July 2nd skull fracture. Sure. Blame the dog. Okay. Smith claimed that the dog had been sleeping with him on the fold-out couch bed, and Haley had been sleeping on the floor on a nesting pillow for the infants. He claimed the dog leapt off the bed and landed on the baby's head. Okay, sure. Detectives interviewed Smith at his residence and noted that the family dog was friendly and non-aggressive. You see, it's just insane. The dog ate my homework. The dog fractured my daughter's skull. It's just crazy. Smith initially told police that the child's second skull fracture happened after the child projectile vomited on Smith was feeding her. This is what he told police. The affidavit states that he said he panicked and may have used too much force when he placed the child on the ground. So supposedly he's feeding his baby. She throws up and he places her on the floor. But listen to this. The child's mother, who has not been charged, which is insane, in my opinion, should have been charged, but okay, it's just my opinion, in connection with the case, reported that she was sleeping when the alleged incident occurred and she was awoken by a loud bang. So what you have here, ladies and gentlemen, is a child with 2 skull fractures in less than a month, an admission that he was holding her at the time it happened, and a witness who heard a bang. How do you not take this to trial? How do you not have the backbone to lock this man up so that he cannot reproduce or cause any other damage? How is that not something that you do? Smith explained that he made the noise when he accidentally kicked a piece of furniture. He accidentally kicked it, but that was the noise. That was a loud bang. The accident occurred at 10 p.m. on July 26th when the child was not admitted to the hospital until 10:30 p.m. on July 27th. And you telling me the mother wasn't charged? This is what it is. I cannot anybody. I'm only saying what I think everybody is thinking, which is why this is so frustrating for us, because we know what we're reading, what we're seeing. Why is it that the judge and the district attorneys do not, I guess the judge in this case, I don't know, the judge didn't have to sentence for so few years. The judge could have said, "Oh, you want to mess around with the police? Okay, well, I'm going to give the maximum for manslaughter." What is the maximum? Maximum. What is maximum sentence in Connecticut for manslaughter? Let's see. So I guess it depends. Reckless conduct creating risk or death, extreme indifference to life. That's 20 years. First degree manslaughter with firearm is 40 years. Reckless causing 10 years. So we know that the judge could at the very least have sentenced 10, maybe 20, depending on what bucket this came into. So no, the judge could have done more. And I just don't get it. And we don't get it. We don't. Because and he has nothing, there's no redeeming factors about him. And of course they were proven wrong already. He already created more harm, violated protection orders, and what if he reproduces? But they don't care about committing justice. They care about whatever their agenda is. Court documents show that the child was finally taken to the hospital after a visitor held the child and noticed the baby kind of plopped against her chest. This is the girl who is the babysitter, who. So the own mother doesn't take the child to the hospital. He doesn't take the child to the hospital. It was this third person, which is so insane. Why do they not charge mom for negligence at the very least? The visitor influenced the child's mother to take the child to the hospital. As the investigation progressed, the detectives probed Smith's story. They found several inconsistencies. At witness said that Smith had told them different stories to explain the child's injury. According to the affidavit, Smith also changed his history during follow-up interviews, telling investigators that the baby rolled off his lap. One witness said they saw Smith handle the child in a rough manner, the affidavit alleges. Several witnesses told police that Smith was a frequent Pepsi user, and at least one said that Smith may have been under the influence, and that night, the child's skull was fractured. Police said detectives found out that Smith's acts wild when under the influence and not handle the infant carefully. He also allegedly made incriminating statements while at the hospital. I wonder what statements those were. I'm sure it could have been used against him. Sure, they could have brought up the witnesses who heard him make those statements. Seems like they were holding a royal flush in court. Really? Do you think a jury would not have found him guilty? While Smith was in the hospital, a security guard reported that Smith was crying uncontrollably, and he told the security guard that his child had brain damage and it was all his fault. A DCF investigator told detectives that after being informed of Haley's death, Smith allegedly kept mumbling, "Please come back and tell them we didn't do this to you," according to court documents. Freaking tell. This is what he's mumbling. He's mumbling, "Come back and tell them we didn't do it to you." Is he talking about Haley coming back? Haley's death was ruled a homicide on November 8, 2011. The medical examiner said that the baby's death was not caused by a fall. Court documents show, in addition to 2 skull fractures, the child had hemorrhaging along her spinal column consistent with being shaken, according to the state's attorney. Throughout my years as a prosecutor, I've handled many of these cases. Let's get ready. Let's get ready for the two-faced DAs. Ready? I have not read this yet. Let's see. Colangelo previously told the Hour the injuries that Smith's daughter, Haley, had could only have come from intentional based on the examination and review of the medical literature. It's unfortunate that this tragedy happened. What a coward. The best thing a parent can do when they're frustrated, when their young infant, is to put the baby in a crib and walk away. What? What? Well, this is what? The best, really? The best thing a parent can do when they're frustrated with their young is put the crib and walk away. I have 3 children. That's not the best thing you can do. Now, if the alternative is throw your baby on the floor and kill them or put them in the crib, sure. But the best thing to do, no. You guys are, this is it. This is just, there's just a bunch of, we're just, the people in who are put in charge to protect us, they're all psychopaths. Smith was arrested November 18, 2011, to Detective Michael Murray obtained a arrest warrant. And then they end up doing the plea deal. There's more. I'll leave out. There's more articles in this. He's it's funny. We just covered a case out of Louisiana where a man did the same thing. Really, he threw the baby on the floor. The baby didn't die. The baby was disabled. Maybe you've seen it. He was given, I think he was given like either 25 or 40 years. I mean, a proper sentence. And it's just remarkable to me that Connecticut, they choose the monster before the victims, before their community, before common sense. And it makes no sense. And that's part of why we do this, to bring the highlight, to belittle Haley's voice, because as you can see, there is nobody speaking for her. No one. And with that, I'll let you go.
I mean, it causes you problems when you don't really know people and you invite them into your personal space. So I'm happy that this lady that you're currently with seems to be a positive influence on your life. She seems to have you motivated to do better. I heard you speak about her positively and several times. So I'm glad that you have her.